We'll go back to the
Yeah, let's do it.
Great.
Chris, come on in.
Hey everybody, Christopher Ryan here. Today I am in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and I have got the privilege of being here at the Songbirds Museum. This place is spectacular. It's located in the old train station here, the Chattanooga Choo Choo, and I am joined today by Irv Berner, who is the curator? Assistant curator here at Songbirds.
That's historian.
Also historian. Also a man with many titles, assistant curator and historian at Songbirds. He's already given me a little bit of a tour of this place. He has a wealth of information, and if you are a guitarist, you are going to be blown away coming here. And even if you're just a music fan or a guitar collector or a guitar player, this is definitely a great place to be. So thank you so much for having me out, Irv.
Oh, my pleasure. And frankly, this place is for everybody, whether you're a guitar player or not, especially when you take the all-access tour back here, you get a guided tour. The stories and the history, it's, you know, a lot of times wives or girlfriends will come along and they'll say, well, I'm here just to keep them company or whatever. That just is not my thing.
Yeah.
And they walk out more wild than usually their partner.
Yeah.
Because I think they're shocked of the depth and, again, the history and the stories, you know, how these all came to be. We've got acoustic instruments, bluegrass instruments, a great collection of banjos, a lot of different things. But the strength of our collection is the solid body guitar and what we refer to as the golden age of guitar building. From 1950 to 65. Right now I'm standing in what's referred to as our timeline. We've got three sections in our timeline, a 50s section, a 60s, and more or less a 70s. And it shows you the evolution of the solid body guitar. We're standing in the 60s right now, so you're seeing some 60s model guitars. And as you walk through the 60s section, unlike the 50s where all guitars were more or less earth tone colors back then, and we all lived in a black and white world, by 1960, custom colors would finally be offered to the public by companies like Fender and Gibson. And you'll start to see some of those examples here. We've got a color chart down here that Fender would put in music stores. You could pick a color and order one of those, you know, for a 5% upcharge, get, you know, the color of your choice. The story we're pretty much telling, again, is that a story of more or less the solid body guitar.
Yeah.
You know, again, we've got all guitars. But that, you know, that's a great American story of you know, post-World War II America, and how, you know, there were three guys kind of sitting around hanging out with each other in California, Paul Bigsby, Les Paul, and Leo Fender, and they were all playing around with the idea of making a guitar that was solid.
Yeah.
Les Paul, I think, was the first guy to come up with that idea or that concept. He was searching for a clearer tone.
Yeah.
When he approached Gibson and Epiphone with that idea, they laughed him out of the factory. But eventually, you know, Leo Fender put it out there. He was the first guy to put out a production model solid body guitar. His clientele in Southern California were Western swing musicians. You gotta remember, this is pre-rock and roll, 1950.
Yeah.
Rock and roll really didn't start to happen until about 1955. So Leo puts out his first production models, and these Western swing players are playing them, and it just took off from there. You know, by 55, you got guys like Buddy Holly playing them. You know, 56, you got Chuck Berry playing an ES-350, which we've got one of those on display here in this room.
Nice.
It's a rotating exhibit. Every 4 months or so, we change this room out. This room will actually, all these guitars will be going away in about 2 weeks. And there'll be a bass exhibit here through the beginning of next year.
Very cool.
Right now it's an exhibit of ES series guitars, electric Spanish styles, mostly semi-hollow bodies, you know, ES5s, ES335s, 355s, 350s.
Is that what ES stands for? Is electric?
Electric Spanish style.
Really?
Gibson had two, if you open up a Gibson catalog, it said they were ES series guitars, which were electric. Spanish style means a round neck guitar, like any normal neck you play.
Yeah.
They also had an EH series, electric Hawaiian, which was a lap steel guitar. a square neck,
Interesting.
a Hawaiian neck.
I think one of the things that fascinates me so much about this story, there's obviously, there's a number of things. So there's a progression of technology. You know, you had this concept of let's do a solid body guitar, let's get a cleaner tone, let's use, you know, essentially radio components, mix it with an acoustic instrument and do something that's, you know, not in the market now. And then you've got really a progression of this technology, and as the technology is progressing in both guitars and pickups and amps, you know, hollow bodies, semi-hollow bodies, solid bodies, you're also seeing a progression in what's happening in the music and what's happening in the culture, and how the guitar became such a definitive symbol of, you know, a cultural phenomenon. And then also you think of countercultural phenomenons. It really was such a seminal time period, not only for this instrument, but how this instrument wound up influencing culture all over the world.
Oh yeah, it was truly a revolution going on in the 60s. I mean, culturally, artistically, you know, in so many different ways. And it was funny how as musical styles changed with these new instruments, you could suddenly do different things. And the artist would, you know, kind of, you know, push it to the limit, see where they could take it.
Yeah.
I mean, a Fender Stratocaster was designed originally for country and western guitar players. This was pre-rock and roll. But by the late 60s, a guy like Jimi Hendrix takes that instrument and those amplifiers and he brings it to a place nobody could have ever imagined before.
Yeah.
This is our vault. In our vault we house pretty much the rarest of the rare guitars. You know, in the 60s, we spoke about in the timeline how in 1960 Fender would introduce custom colors. But if you look around here, we've got all these guitars from the 50s with custom colors, which is extremely rare. Sometimes performers, entertainers, or whatever, when somebody who had an interconnection with the factory could get that done. So we've got this great collection of custom color guitars here, prototypes. Again, there's a reason why we call it the vault. And we got these great drawers. There are more guitars in here.
Very cool.
Yeah, when you come here, the All Access Tour is really the way to go. On the All Access Tour, along with the stories of all of the guitars in the vault, we'll also take you back in time to 1950, where the solid body guitar story really begins. You hear about the many men and women that helped design these iconic models, and we'll talk about the musical styles of that era and how a new music called rock and roll would appear, and how over time it would evolve from early 50s rock and roll to psychedelic rock, and how these changes would affect the design and popularity of many of the models. How the Gibson Les Paul became so unpopular, it was discontinued and redesigned, and today an original one from that era can cost as much as $250,000 or more. How in 1966, a young Eric Clapton would suddenly make that the guitar, the one every kid had to have.
Well, I got to tell you, this, just in the time I've been here has been an unbelievable experience. People on camera can't see right now, and I'm looking around this room and realizing how much history and innovation is here, and that's something that's blown me away. If you folks get a chance, if you're in or around Chattanooga, this is definitely a stop worth making. If people want to find out more about the Songbird Museum, where can they go? Is there a place on the web?
www.songbirds.rocks.
Songbirds.rocks.
And after you see the museum, in the evening, we've got 2 live music venues. So if you come into town, check out our schedule ahead of time. Maybe you can catch a show here also.
That would be a great place. I saw one of the music stages over here, really intimate. It would be an amazing place to see a show for sure.
Absolutely, it's unbelievable.
As always, you can keep up with me and my happenings over at ChristopherRyanMusic.com. And until next time, remember to dream your life and live your dream. Have a great day.
So you've been incredibly generous with your time so far, and this has obviously been amazing already, but I'm curious if you have one guitar out of this whole collection that's a favorite or has a special story or meaning to you.
You know, it's hard to pick a favorite because there's so numerous favorites here. But at the end of the day, I really am a Strat player. I love Stratocasters. The best guitar I ever owned was a 1964 Strat. Sounded great. And I just got used to, over time, used to the shape of that neck. I love the feel of the neck. And when I first got shown this collection by our curator, Dave Davidson, he opened up a case, and this guitar was in it. And it's just a really unique piece. There was something about the finish I loved. It's what we call a dune buggy finish. It's kind of a gold sparkle with green and red fleck in it.
Yeah.
It's a hardtail. It's a 63. It's got that neck I just love, and it sounds great. So there was just something better when I first saw this guitar. It was like love at first sight.
Hey everybody, Christopher Ryan here. Thanks so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode, please remember to click the like button. You can also click on subscribe to be notified when new episodes are posted.